fighting against election deniers. Donald Trump used Antrim County as an example that the election had been stolen. I can't let that happen in my county.
40 to 45% of American voters believe that there is systemic fraud.
If at any point in the polling location you feel intimidated, unsafe, the very first call that you should make is 911.
I'm in Michigan. Winning here goes a long way to deciding who will be the president of the United States. But there's something else at stake here, whether people even believe in elections at all anymore. Why will so many Americans not trust the results of their upcoming presidential election?
Oh, I'm up. Thank you, Sally. Thank you. I really appreciate all my workers, and you can see how many people are supporting me.
I find Cheryl Guy at a meet and greet at a bar in Antrim County, Michigan. Cheryl is trying to get re-elected as county clerk. It's an important job because clerks oversee voting during elections.
This election is election on steroids. We recovered from 2020, we owned the error that happened, and we paid the price.
That error from the 2020 election is the reason I'm here. Donald Trump seized on it as an example of widespread election fraud. A human error sent 6,000 votes for Biden that were meant for Trump. The mistake got fixed before the results were official, but that didn't matter.
In one Michigan county alone, 6,000 votes were switched from Trump to Biden, and the same systems are used in the majority of states in our country.
When Donald Trump on January 6th mentioned Antrim County, it was horrifying.
Cheryl, who had always worked in obscurity and a lifelong Republican, was suddenly called out as an enemy of Trump supporters.
I endured harassment, threats. One of the messages left that I deserved to be put in front of a firing squad.
Instead of backing down, Cheryl, even at 63 and a grandmother, became even more determined to prove that elections are fair.
So coming up in 2024, we've hired additional people to come in on election night. Now remember, they come in on election night, they don't leave till the next day. Good to see you.
Cheryl has a message for anyone who thinks there was fraud in her county or denies elections in the United States.
The checks and balances are there. If you don't believe it, shame on you. Because we go great lengths to make sure integrity, fairness, and we're well balanced in our elections. I just want to thank everybody for coming out.
But not everyone believes Cheryl. I meet Tony Smedra in the crowd. Will you trust the outcome of the upcoming presidential election?
I do not. Yeah, a lot of shady stuff happened last time, and a lot of my people my age, they didn't even want to vote this time because they just think it's crooked, so there's no point. What surprises me about Tony is that even though he doesn't believe elections are fair, he's running in one to be a county clerk. I guess I'm wondering, how come, if you didn't trust what happened in 2020, how come you trust the process enough that you want to get involved now? I honestly don't, so that's why I am getting involved and going to be the inside man and see what's going on behind it, behind the scenes. And what do you hope to find out? Well, I hope that it's not as crooked and there's shady stuff going on, but I will find out. Are you hopeful? Yes, I'm very hopeful. My daughter just turned 18, so she's going to vote and spread the word to her friends so that there is hope. Now, just to clarify, there have been many investigations into voter fraud since the 2020 election, and there was none. And if you don't believe me, here's lifelong Republican strategist Jason Rowe.
The systemic voter fraud that Donald Trump talks about doesn't exist. There is no evidence of it. We went from 7 to 5 to less than 5, but still ahead. But then as you start getting
Jason is the former executive director of the Michigan Republican Party. And in this election, he's trying to get a Republican to win a highly contested congressional race.
I mean, he's just playing up, being the working class schlub.
Jason tells me that it may not be obvious, but there's a reason Trump is pushing election denial.
You know, I think he's trying to motivate his base to turn out because of the concerns of voter fraud. Certainly part of, I think, what all Republican candidates and consultants are at some way conveying is if you think there is going to be cheating and you want to make sure it doesn't matter, then get out there and vote.
Jason says election denial is basically mainstream now in the United States.
Do you run into election denial in your own life?
All the time. Even in the last couple weeks, I've run into people that would seem perfectly normal, suburban, college-educated parents. And the election comes up, and it's almost like clockwork. Oh, they're just going to rig it and steal it. Americans are so siloed now, have run into countless people who don't know anyone who voted for Joe Biden. So it's impossible for them to believe that Biden won.
On election night in 2020, in Detroit, hundreds of people believed the election was being stolen from Trump. They didn't know that what officials were actually doing was counting thousands of absentee ballots.
You see on the left-hand side.
Fast forward to today, and the mistrust still exists. So what do you do?
Certainly, we've seen some unprecedented times and some polarizing times.
Lisa Lyons believes she knows how to fight election denial. She's the clerk in Kent County, Michigan, and she's in charge of training people to work the election.
If 2020 taught me anything, it's that the voters know very little about the process. And I really believe the key to trusting the process is education and participation. And that's kind of what I've made my mission the last 4 years. I want people to know what I know. I want them to have the same trust in the process that I have. I'm so thankful to have all of you stepping in and stepping up and playing a part of this true cornerstone of our republic.
And if people are going to take part in the election, one of Lisa's biggest challenges is to make sure they're safe.
I actually have had election inspectors who have come up to me on the street, they've seen me, and they say, you know, Lisa, I'm scared. I love working our elections, but I'm afraid. And my message to you, and if I leave you with nothing, do not be scared, because we are prepared.
This class, Lisa says, is an example of how there might just be a silver lining to the skepticism about elections. It used to be really hard to get people involved in them. Not anymore. Cindy Sullivan is training to be an election inspector.
Tell me why you thought it was important to come to this training today.
It's important because if there is fraud in the elections, in our government, then the people have a right to know. We have a right to know what's going on.
I asked Cindy why she's so skeptical.
From what I've seen on TV, from the news, the reports that I've seen, there could be fraud.
It makes me sad when I hear so many people not believe the outcome of the election, but I don't want to dismiss folks outright. I want to listen to them. I want them to have an opportunity to share their concern and to really meet that head on. But
and Lisa explains that that's the other way to regain trust in the election. Not to ignore people, no matter their beliefs.
It's so important to have faith in the process. Otherwise, what are we doing? You can't have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people if the people don't believe in it. Democracy doesn't happen without you. It truly doesn't. And our elections are really, they're a celebration. It's just a reminder of the blessings of liberty that we have here in this country. All right, thank you.